a great, strong turnout here. I think whenever the cycling community and endurance sports community can get together and, in essence, help each other with events and brainstorming and coming up with new ideas, it's always good, and it's good for our community, and that was really the main reason behind trying to bring the U.S. Pro Cycling Challenge to Colorado Springs. Was we believed, first of all, we believed in sports. We believed in what sports represents for all of us and for our children. Represents ways in which you can set goals and ways in which you can resolve conflicts, teamwork, all those type of things, and that ultimately we believe in sports, and live sporting events are really kind of, you never know what's going to happen, and you never know when you're really going to see just greatness right in front of you, and it really, it only happens unscripted in live sporting events, and it doesn't matter what that sporting event is, whether it's a bicycle race, a triathlon, a football game, you know, basketball, whatever. It's just, you never know what's going to happen because of the intensity and everything involved with competition. It's just people will exceed and do things that are beyond what's expected, and you see greatness. So in getting the U.S. Pro Cycling Challenge here, to back up, there was a bike race here in Colorado, and it really gave birth to stage racing, international stage racing in the United States. And it started first as the Red Zinger Classic in 1977 was the first year of it, and it was sponsored by Celestial Seasonings, and it was held primarily in Boulder. And then Coors Brewing got involved and took over the title sponsorship of it, and it was called the Coors Classic, and that ran through 1988, and basically through the 80s, the Coors Classic, and probably some of you all remember the Coors Classic in Vail and in way out at the Tour de Moon on the National Monument, to the Mortal Bismarck in Boulder and North Boulder Park, and all. They had a stage here in Colorado Springs in 1982 in Memorial Park. So it was really sort of the founding of U.S. International stage racing was here in Colorado. So a lot of you probably heard the story that Lance Armstrong connected with then Governor Ritter and was talking to him about, why don't you have international stage race here in Colorado? It's perfect. It's where cycling, you have all this heritage, and I think heritage is important for a sporting event. It's something that shows some longevity, something that lasts, and Colorado had that heritage for the birth of international stage racing. Governor Ritter's a cyclist. Lance connected with him on a ride one day, and they were talking about doing this stage race, and this was actually, I think, back in 2008 when the first discussion started occurring. I was working with Lance during his comeback, so I was a little privy to some inside information that this was sort of in the works, and these things were bubbling up. And so I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know, it's going to happen. We got to have a stage here in Colorado Springs, and there's no way we can't. And so in 2010, it was clear this was coming to life. I knew from the race organization, the sort of exploratory committee that the governor put together had contracted this group called Medalist Sports, and they are sort of the infrastructure behind all the big stage races in Europe. And and they contacted Medalist Sports about doing the event here. They also got funding from the founders of Quiznos, and remember initially it was called the Quiznos Classic, I think. And so I had heard about that well, it was before the Tour de France in 2010. I think it was about May of 2010 that, look, they had a title sponsor. They had already contracted Medalist. Well, I started right then and there lobbying, in essence, to get it to come to Colorado Springs. And we thought about, I put together a group. I made a call to a group of community influencers and leaders, and got them together in August of 2010 and said, look, this is going to happen, and they're going to start sending out RFPs to the Chamber of Commerce and the tourist organizations of all the cities around Colorado in about another 4 weeks. But let's get a jump start on this, and let's brainstorm of what we actually want. And so, in talking about it, it looked like the best option would be to have what was called the prologue time trial, because that means we don't share the stage with anybody. We don't share it with Salida or Gunnison or anything. It's all Colorado Springs, and so for the entire day. So, and everybody talks about the race opening up, and it starts in Colorado Springs with the prologue. So Colorado Springs was going to get a lot of visibility, a lot of awareness. We settled on the prologue time trial. A lot of discussion around where that should be. I believe we really wanted to showcase our city, our community, and to start in Garden of the Gods with Pikes Peak in the background, and then finish downtown. We all believed it would be the best place to hold the prologue. So I started leveraging my relationships that I have in cycling, and I've been in cycling since 1969, and I was 9 years old when I started, so I have a lot of long, rich, deep relationships, and I made sure that they knew that the race needed to start in Colorado Springs, so we got awarded the prologue. We put together a local organizing committee, and at the time, this group of people said, we'll help support this, Chris, but you have to be the chair of this local organizing committee. And I didn't really, that wasn't my intent of doing it. It was just, I kind of expected somebody else to stick up their hand and say they wanted to do that. And unfortunately, nobody did. So I took it on, and I have never done anything like that before in my life, and it was a ton more work than I ever imagined. And it was very nerve-wracking in a lot of ways, and it's a volunteer position. We had to put together this local organizing committee. Each kind of department, there was a chair of the marketing, chair of sponsorship, chair of hospitality, VIP, all these different chairs, and we were able to recruit great chairs, and without that, it never would have really happened. And so I was really fortunate to be able to surround myself with some very bright, successful, driven people that wanted to see this event take place in Colorado Springs and do a bang-up job. Well, it all kind of kicked off in January last year. The problem is none of us really kind of had done it before, and nobody really knew, nobody from the race was telling us what we needed to do, because they had a CEO of the race who was from Hollywood. They hired this guy who was to make the race, this big Hollywood production, and he knew nothing about cycling. And it was clear that this was not the right guy for the job, in my view. Because I've seen these guys kind of come and go about how, oh, nobody really knows anything in cycling, and they don't know how to do promotions and how to do all that sort of stuff. And, you know, before you know it, he's going to try to put, you know, just goofy stuff, you know, like, well, we're going to stop halfway through and everybody's going to trade bikes and then get on and go. And just, you know, kind of goofy things. And sure enough, you know, they ended up firing him after a few months. And then they put in another person who knew nothing about cycling and knew nothing about running a you know, international bicycle race. And she lasted maybe 3 months, and they got rid of her. And so this was in about March or April of last year, 2011, and we knew nothing about. We had no information. We had no idea what sponsorship categories were open for us to sell. You know, we knew we couldn't sell. We couldn't get Chick-fil-A on because of Quiznos. We knew that much, you know, but there was nothing else, you know, and so consequently, we were really in the dark, and I was very nervous, and we met with the mayor, met with the city manager, asked for some value in kind for police officers, for barriers, all sorts of things like that. And right away they supported us. They gave us, I think, $60,000 worth of value in kind, and which was great. I had no idea how to, you know, what expenses we would have, and so we just started kind of just thinking the best we could about what it was, and then the only way we were going to raise money, because we had to pay for the hotel rooms of all the athletes starting 2 days before the race. We had to start with, we had 783 bedrooms that we were responsible in paying for, plus all the meals, plus the gala, and plus you know, we got VIK from the city, but a lot of additional expenses that we had, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's $500,000. How the heck are we going to get $500,000? And so it was good. We met with the mayor and city manager, got great support there. Met with El Pomar and asked for a grant from them. They came in, they said, how much money do you need? And I said, $500,000. And they said, you're crazy. We're not going to give you $500,000. And I said, well, how much can you give me? And they said, we'll give you 25. So I took 25, and that was great. We were all happy. And we started going. At least we had a little bit of money. And we basically started beating shaking the trees for sponsors. At this point, it was mid-April. The race had hired a new CEO, and his name was Sean Hunter. And I knew Sean for quite a while. He was the former head of Turf California for the Anschutz Entertainment Organization out in California. So he had conducted the Turf California from the first inaugural year for the first 3 years of the race. So I was like, all right, stuff is going to happen. And once Sean got in 6 weeks, things were just really turning around.